Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of All Facts, No Cap. We got Jamie Kelton again, man. It was so great the first time. We got to run it back a second time. JK, man, Happy New Year to you.
Oh, happy New Year to you too. 2023. How did that happen?
Oh, man, I don't know how it happened, but I know we're definitely here. I'll go ahead and say that. But
We're
man,
here.
it's happy and I'm loving every minute of it. Man, big things this year.
Yeah, I'm so excited. This year's already starting out great for me. We got some good football to talk about, some tea
Ooh.
to talk about. You can talk about the new year and people's bad habits when they start the new year. And that to me is like dry January. So we'll get into
Hmm.
all that a little bit later. But let's start with this crazy game that happened last night.
Oh, man, you hit it right on the head. I mean, what final score is 65-7. I mean, I stopped watching pretty much after the third quarter. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it just goes to show that right now Georgia is head and shoulders above everybody else. I know that's a little bit bittersweet for you, being from the state of Georgia, but we all know your Roll Tide.
Mm-hmm.
It just goes to show Kirby Smart doing a great job with those Bulldogs, and they are clearly the class of NCAA college football right now.
Yeah, you're doing your best impression of David Pollock tonight. I hear you. Just, everybody's got to get it in somewhere. I hope that felt as good for you as, I'm sure it did for him sitting next to Saban. Yeah, but no, man, to use your name, last night was a rout and a half. Okay.
Yes, no
So
doubt about it.
I think, Stan, I think we deserved that game because the two semifinal games were so good and
Yeah.
so exciting and so back and forth. Like the football gods were like, okay, we gave it to y'all a week ago. This is what you get. We're all sitting there like, what? This is the worst football game I've ever watched. I guess unless you're a Georgia fan.
Yeah, and like at least with you being from the state of Georgia, obviously that's not your favorite team, but I can tell you as a fellow Texan, I was embarrassed just
Mm,
because, obviously UT is going to be going to the SEC soon. Oklahoma is going to be going to the SEC as well. And just for Georgia, I know they're the best team in college football. Like they're big, they're fast, they're strong, they're all like cyborgs running around out there. But it's like, man, it just does not do well for just the mindset and the imagery in everybody's mind of the state of Texas. You go out there and I'm talking about, I'm watching the game. I'm seeing the early interception. I'm seeing the early fumble where Georgia's just having their way with the Horned Frogs. And
mhm,
just as a Texan, I just wanted to see a better showing. Did I think they were going to win? No, I did not. But
mhm.
at least let it 28-65. Like let it be, something like go ahead, get your licks in, but just that one big play that you saw on the blown coverage early on in the game, which led to a touchdown with Duggan. And then that's the only time they were able to punch it in the end zone or get any points. So I can tell you, JK, as a Texan, I'm embarrassed for the showing that the Lone Star State had last night.
I was embarrassed for them too, when I felt sad for even all the TCU fans that went out there. They were
Yeah.
so excited. They spent all the money and it was over halfway through the first quarter, pretty much. I mean, what they had 2.5 minutes of hope right after
Mm.
they scored that touchdown. And we were like, oh, okay, maybe they're settling in a little bit. The lights were bright. This is their first time on this stage. But nope, it just, and TCU was a second half comeback team this year.
Yeah.
Man, but that was not.
Yeah,
Nope, nope, nope. I don't think there's no coming back from that one. No,
like
yeah.
I know what you mean because the Georgia Bulldogs, like they're strong. And I remember just watching the game. I believe we were all out at dinner during the first quarter. And I remember we were all saying, like, if Georgia gets up 2 scores, it's done because you are not going to come back on them. They got too much depth, too much speed. They're too fast from side to side. You're not going to be able to just go ahead and just will your way to a second half comeback. You're not going to be able to do that with them. You got to match them step for step, blow for blow. And so when I saw they went up 2 scores, I was like, okay, you know what?
It's
Now
over.
TCU, the only hope is that they can just go ahead and just make it respectable. But as far as winning this game, no, they're not running down Big Red.
Georgia also came in with a different mindset. I think we saw them start the Ohio State game a little slow, and they obviously made
Yeah.
that second
Hmm.
half comeback. It was a carryover from that, but their mindset was like, we're not going to be denied. We've been here before. right? We're comfortable.
Very
We know
much.
how this goes. And TCU was like, we're just happy to be here, right?
Yeah.
And, and I think what we saw from TCU all year is like they were like a scrappy team, right?
Hmm.
Like everybody was in almost every game they played, right? They had to make some second half comebacks as well, down at halftime. Like I said, but like you mentioned, the Georgia talent and the TCU scrappiness did not match up last night. It's just they were, and we have first year head coach Sonny Dykes, who has done a tremendous
Yeah.
job over his coaching career. And it's sad to think that they're walking away from this season without a Big 12 championship, right? Without a ring, without a national championship ring, and they accomplished so much. I don't know, do you get a ring for winning the Fiesta Bowl? But I don't think this is the end of TCU, right? I don't think they're going to fall off the map. They have a tremendous coach. I think the transfer portal that we're going to talk about a little bit
Oh
later
yeah.
is going to continue to help them too. So I don't see them falling off the map, but this was like kind of like a fluke year for them almost maybe, because all the other teams had to fall in just the right
Yeah.
way in order for them to get in, especially losing the Big 12 championship.
Oh man. I can't even argue with everything you're saying just because it pretty much syncs up to be morbidly true. When you look at how TCU played throughout the entirety of the year, you did see how certain games where they weren't blowing people out. They were
Mm-hmm.
simply just winning the game. And I think that's what made the voters feel compelled that they had to put them in the top 4 of the college football playoff rankings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and the only other team that it would have been would have been Bama, and we still have never had a two-loss team in the
Mhm.
top four. So, I think if Kansas State would have blown out TCU more, if they would have won by 14 or more points, I don't think they would have put TCU in there.
Yeah, I
But the
agree.
fact that it went to overtime and what did they win by? It was like a one-score game. So
Yes. Uh-huh.
no, it wasn't going to happen. Um, we needed two touchdowns or more to have that happen, and then the whole world would have exploded. So
Yeah, and I definitely remember watching that game, and I remember seeing you put that in your stories how you were definitely rooting for them on
yeah.
that Saturday afternoon because you wanted your Roll Tide to slip into the college football playoff. And honestly, I think
I did and I didn't though. I'm like, do I want us in the playoff? Not really. But am I rooting for
oh,
Kansas State to win? Like, also yes. Yeah, I knew that it like wasn't like our year, right, from the beginning. And I've still the transfer portal keeps coming up to me in these points I'm making. And
yeah.
I think, with all the transfer guys that we had this year, they didn't gel. They didn't buy into the culture, the process, the all of that. So, but we'll talk about that a little bit. But it was good for TCU, I guess.
Well, speaking of the Roll Tide,
Mm-hmm.
that leads me to my next question because even though you guys having a 2-loss season, that's
Mm-hmm.
considered a down year for you guys. You're over
Yeah.
here talking about how some of the transfer guys, they didn't measure up. It just seems like it just wasn't your year. You guys had 2 losses.
Mm-hmm.
You guys had 2 losses, and you're talking about how it just wasn't your year. And to me, that speaks to the greatness at which is the SEC. So that
Mm-hmm.
leads me to my next question. And I already have my own opinions, but I want to get
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah.
Why do you feel the SEC is head and shoulders above everybody else in all of college football?
Right now, it's so obvious, right? And just the amount of national championships we've not only been in but won, right? What is it the last four now? But like the last
Something like that, yeah.
6 out of 8 and the last 13 out of 18. I believe those numbers are right. But I think it comes down to two main points. When I was reflecting on this, thinking about a little virtual date tonight. Okay. Number one, it's just part of the Southern culture. Okay.
Yes.
It is the South. You don't identify college football really with anywhere else in the country. Yes, there's good teams in pockets. Like you have your USC and you have like in the Midwest, right? It's like the parts of the country that don't have anything like better to do, right? Like the Midwest and the South are better. It's like there's not like mountains, there's not like a lot of coastline except for Florida. Like we don't have anything better to do but just like tee it up and play football. But it's more of a priority in the
Yeah.
South than anywhere else. And I
Agreed.
think in the other regions of the country, there are other sports that also kind of like, if you think of it like a pie graph, like, right? Like in the South, it's like all football, right? And then we'll give you like a little pro baseball. Right. And basketball, not so bad. I mean, hey, Bama hoops are ranked higher than Bama football right now. But there's, like in the North, I'm in New York City right now, the Northeast, there's like lacrosse and crew and a bunch of like
Yeah.
random sports, right? That if you say that down south, people are like, how do you spell that?
Oh
I
yeah.
don't,
What the hell is that?
I don't know. So, yeah, it's just like the mind share of football down south. It's a part of the culture, but we don't give priority to other sports the way we do like football, number one. And number two, the SEC is better than everyone else because we get the top talent. The top talent goes there. So then we have to unpack, well, why does the top talent go there? Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
let's not forget, Stan, that these are kids, right? These are in high school, you're making the decision where to go. So, what, you're 16 to 18, 15 to 18, you're getting recruited really hard, right?
Yeah.
You're looking at the TV exposure, you're looking at the stadiums, you're looking at the clout that you're going to get on campus, you're looking at the uniforms, you're looking at the coaches, you're going to get the winning history, and all of that kind of snowballs. And you really don't see that ever stopping or slowing down at this juncture, right? It feels like it's already so cemented in just the history and the future of college football. It's like I don't really ever see a collapse of the SEC until like the dinosaurs come back. I don't know. So.
Oh wow. I think that you hit a lot of good points on that one. And the only thing I would probably just piggyback on is like what you just said, with it being the South, it's paramount in the South.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about. You look at the movies like Varsity Blues, you look at Friday Night Lights, you don't see those types of movies happening in
Washington State.
Yeah, exactly. You don't hear about that in other states or just other parts of the country. And I think that, one thing that I've noticed, and especially, I lived out on the West Coast for a number of years, obviously, and you just see a different level of commitment. I think you see a different level of just focus. And when I say that, you look at how some guys that they look at playing college football as they're a brand. And they don't want to just go ahead and just pigeonhole themselves as just a football player, where they want to think of themselves as somebody that I can be in acting. I can go and be an actor. I can go and be an entertainer, as well as also playing football, where the mindset down south for kids that are going to Ole Miss, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, even Vanderbilt up there in Nashville, where I'm a football player. That's what I do. I go to school because I'm on scholarship, and that pays for that. Yeah, because I have to.
Because they tell me I got to show up.
Exactly. Like I'm only here so I don't get fined.
Right.
So, it's a different level of focus, and a singular focus, should I say. That to me has always been the biggest difference, because, out West, or even now when you look at even the University of Texas, or maybe even Texas A&M, with having more of that broad mindset, where now they're thinking more alternatively. And it's not just always football, 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 football. And so, to me, that has probably been the biggest component as to why the SEC continues to run away and run over everybody within the country.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's even in high schools, right? The resources,
Yeah.
the money that gets put into shaping these kids to get them ready to go play at the next level down south versus in other areas of the country. It's apples and oranges. So it's the machine.
Yes, it definitely is a machine. So hopefully the state of Texas, I don't know who it's going to be out of the state of Texas. Hopefully they can get up in that college football playoff again and have a much better showing against them Bulldogs or your Roll Tide. Or who knows, maybe those Bayou Bengals may come back and have a little bit of an appearance like they did back in 2019.
All right, watch your mouth.
Hey, I had to go ahead and jab you a little bit.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. You did mention how a lot of the guys, the transfer guys for the Roll Tide, did not seem like they really lived up to expectations or what everybody thought of them. Man, go ahead and tell me your opinion on this whole transfer portal, what it's now exploded to, and whether you think it's going to be a good or a bad thing going forward.
Yeah, so the recruiting now, Stan, is not really recruiting for the future. We're recruiting for next year.
Yeah.
Right? It's a lot more short-sighted than it used to be because we were used to these guys, having these guys for, at least 3 years. Now you can have them for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I think this is going to really be huge when the expanded playoff starts in 2 years. It's really interesting how both of these things are coming about at the same time.
Absolutely.
It's making these schools like the TCUs more competitive because you're having these guys who might be at Bama, who might be at Texas, and they're like, okay, well, hell, I was a 4-star. I'm pretty good, but I'm still third on the depth chart.
Yeah.
I can go get a starting role somewhere else. So I think that's going to be really interesting. And everyone, and myself included, was against the playoff expansion for that reason. We're like, usually the first game, the semifinals, like a lot of the times there's at least one blowout.
Oh, yeah, it's a dud.
And nobody wants to see that. Everyone's like, well, we're going to watch, the big dogs just take down the little guys. And it's going to be just not fun to watch, as we saw last night. But I think this is going to sweeten the pot a little bit. I think it might make the schools that are not, your traditional powerhouses, the same perhaps 7, 8 schools that we're talking about every year that are national champion contenders, be more relevant. These extra games we're going to be getting, which I'm so excited. Those like 3 awkward weeks that we don't get to watch football in December are now like those bowl games that are like around Christmas are going to get moved back. It's going to be so excited. Like we're just like waiting on the Army Navy game. Like it's our last football game we're ever going to watch. Right. Because on Saturday, like that awkward like teen weekend in December. But no, I think it's going to make this expanded playoff a lot more interesting now that the guys can, jump ship at a moment's notice and go tee it up for somebody else. What do you think about that?
I'm probably more split on it than I am one side or the other. And I say that because I do believe that if you go to a program and let's say all of a sudden they switch coordinators, the guy that you went there to go play for, now he's at another school. He just got a head coaching job, something like that. Or the head coach, he leaves to go and he goes to greener pastures or something like that. So you went to that school because a certain coach recruited you and you knew that he would be there. You wanted to be a part of that scheme. And now all of a sudden it's a completely different scheme. It is not suited for your skill set. So you know what? It's best for you to go ahead and leave. Or somehow, some way you get there, you don't get along with the coach. You feel like you're already in his doghouse. You know what? You only get 4 years of this thing to get a crack at it to go try to play at the next level. So you know what? The time is of the essence. So you got to go ahead and get somewhere else so you can get on the field, put good film out there. Hopefully a scout will see you. You can get invited to the combine, get drafted, and so forth. So I understand that aspect of it, and I'm a big advocate of that aspect. Now, where it gets real tricky is where now a lot of the transfer portal, a lot of it is so based on the NIL money, where now guys are jumping into the portal because they didn't get the NIL money that their school promised them, or they feel like they can get more money at another school in a better NIL situation. So to me, I get it. I understand it. So the NIL, it is what it is. It's now like the wild, wild west. It's like free agency for college football. Should I say college sports? And, the last one is probably, and I do believe that this is what makes football the best sport on the planet, is the grit. It's the toughness. It's battling through adversity. And so now you get guys that at the first sign of adversity, I'm a freshman and I'm second on the depth chart. I don't like that because, I was a 4-star and, I had 10 other schools that were recruiting me and I shouldn't be a backup. So now all of a sudden, what do? Jump into the portal. And so then they go to another school. Well, guess what? Somehow, some way, that coach doesn't just hand them a starting spot. Well, now they got their lip poked out at the second school. What am I going to do? Jump in another portal. And so, when I look at guys throughout college football over the last several years. Like, you look like the Tate Martells of the world, who went from, what was it, Ohio State, then to Miami, and then I forget where he went after that. And I could use several other guys.
JT Daniels.
Exactly. You see, so to me,
that guy's been playing since I graduated college.
yeah. So when you really think about it, and how in today's generation, today's society, with this era of kids, they run from the adversity. They run from the tough. They run from the grit. And I love what Honey Badger said. I forget how long ago it was. And he said when he got to LSU, he was behind Patrick Peterson. He was behind several other great LSU corners, and he had to simply earn his way on the field. And guess what? He did that. Wound up winning the Jim Thorpe Award, going in the draft. And we all know Honey Badger's been a phenomenal player for a number of years in the NFL, but that adversity, that grit, that's what helped him become who he is. Understanding that, sometimes you got to just fight through it. Sometimes you got to run through that brick wall. You can't run away from it. You can't run around it. You got to go through that brick wall. So to me, that's where the transfer portal, I get it in certain situations, how it's advantageous, but I think in other areas, I think it takes away from the kids actually learning how to earn their stripes.
Let me ask you, as someone who's been in a lot of locker rooms, played college football, played in the NFL. Do you think that this is detrimental for the locker room culture, for how the guys are getting along? Do you think that it helps, or do you think that it can get wonky?
I think that as a college football program, I think that if you live in the transfer portal where you want your team to be comprised mainly of a lot of transfer guys, I think you get into a real tricky situation, because you first got to ask yourself, why did that kid decide he wanted to transfer from his previous school? You got to first ask yourself that, because rarely
an interview process.
Yeah. And so rarely do you have it be a situation like my man that went from Pitt to USC, Addison, the receiver. Usually a guy who hops in the transfer portal, it's because he's probably not playing, which means he's probably not getting along with the coach. Maybe he doesn't understand the scheme, or maybe he was just overrated coming out of high school as far as, the 4 and 5 star ratings and things like that. So that's why if you want to live in the transfer portal, as far as comprising your team of transfers, that I think it's real tricky, because you don't exactly know what you're getting. You can go and you can do the interview process, you can do your due diligence, but at the end of the day, you still are taking a chance. You're still taking a risk. Now, I think that if you want to use certain guys out of the transfer portal to supplement your team, I think that's great. Because like you just said, we're now recruiting for the right now, not for 2 or 3 years from now when he develops and things like that. So that's the beauty about the transfer portal, because you're getting guys who, okay, he's a college football player. I know he's able to play on the collegiate level because that other team over there offered him scholarships. So clearly he's able to play and things like that. But I think that from a team morale standpoint, the one thing about football, whether it's college, NFL, high school, your players, they got to all be able to respect each other and get along. They ain't got to love it. They ain't got to like each other, but they definitely have to be able to work well with each other. And when you look at the Georgias of the world, or you look at how the Patriots had that dynasty, you look at the Rams even last year, and you look at the teams that are really always in the mix, it's because they have that nucleus and everybody's cohesive. They're able to get along. And that's something that it's very difficult to build that type of togetherness right there quickly whenever you're having a lot of transplants come in.
Do you think that there should be parameters or like restrictions on the transfer portal? For example, like let's say I want to transfer. Do you think I should sit out the first 3 games of the season? And do you think that would help coaches maybe be able to like plan and manage their team better, or their recruiting, or did you like it better when you had to sit out a year, right? Or do you like it just as a free for all now?
I'd probably say in between. And I say that because I do believe that I remember how back when you used to have to sit out a year, that was kind of like your punishment, that if you want to transfer, you can't just go ahead and hop on a team, build a super team, go win a national championship, something like that. So I agree with that aspect, not allowing kids to just go ahead and jump ship right here, right now, just for the instant gratification. Now, I will go ahead and say that I do believe in certain situations that I do believe it should be warranted. I believe it should be allowed. So if I go to a school, if I go to whatever university and I go there for the head coach who recruited me, well, then all of a sudden that head coach now takes a Power 5 job, or he takes a job at a bigger university. Well, he's allowed to go ahead and move without having to deal with any sort of penalty or anything like that. Yeah. Why shouldn't the player? So I do believe that, yeah, for certain situations, there should not be any restriction. If it's a situation where a guy goes to a school and he went to a school and that head coach, that offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, what have you, leaves, he should be well within his rights to go ahead and leave right along with him. Maybe not to the same school, but, to another school or something like that, because he was sold a lie. Yeah. That guy walks into his parents' house. Hey, I really, really love your son.
Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley.
Exactly. Caleb Williams now would have to go sit there at Oklahoma, play under Brent Venables, who's a defensive-minded head coach. Good defensive mind. We all know that. But if I'm a quarterback, I want to be underneath an offensive mind. I want to be underneath an offensive genius like he was with the Lincoln Riley. So I think, yeah, in certain situations, there should not be a penalty. But like I said, at the end of the day, it has now become the wild, wild west. But I do like how they're putting certain parameters in, how you can't jump in the portal after a certain date. And if that date passes, then you can't jump in till the following calendar year. So I do like those parameters that they're putting in to try to have some sort of governing type of restrictions among this thing.
Yeah, I hear you. I agree.
Oh, wow. We agree on something.
Yeah.
No, I'm messing with you. So here we go. Now, I know you got some opinions on this one.
Oh.
Do you think there should be an age limit in college football?
This is going to be a great debate. It's tough. Do I think that, what's wild? I mean, the internet today was just.
Oh, yes, it was.
I was scrolling on Instagram, consuming content until like 5 minutes before we started this. Like this morning, it was so good. I couldn't tear myself away. But to see the memes of, all of the NFL quarterbacks that Stetson Bennett is older than, what? That is wild. Do I think 25-year-olds should be playing with 18-year-olds? There is such a huge maturity gap.
Yes, physically and mentally.
I was just about to say physical gap, especially if you're a quarterback. Your decision-making skills, everything, right? And I think that really worked to Stetson's favor. He obviously made tremendous strides relative to his talent over the last couple of years, but I think something that we saw is he made a lot of good decisions.
Yes.
And that's because his brain was more developed to make those decisions. So I don't know. Do I think it's fair? Not really. We had the TCU punter.
Jordy Sandy, the punter, 29 years old.
9 years old. What? That's crazy. And I know he came from like Australia and you know what? God bless him and everything he's done for his work with his charity and all of that. I'm sure you watch that on game day when it's just, they rip your heartstrings out. They get you all jacked up and then and they're like, okay, wait, let's bring it back. Yeah, but I don't know. I'm not.
Come on now. You got to pick a side. Can't be on the fence. You got to pick a side.
So to answer your question, yes, I do think there should be an age limit in college football. I think that maybe now that we were just talking about the transfer portal, like you don't have to sit out a year, that's probably going to help that. Right. But I don't think, no, I think you're done at like 23.
23. Okay. Okay. I get that. And I definitely see your point. Now I'm going to throw something at you. What about a situation like Chris Winkie? What about a situation like a Brandon Whedon, where, you got these quarterbacks who are also good in baseball. They're a good pitcher, something like that. They get drafted straight out of high school. They go try to play baseball. They go, they got to go through single A, double A, triple A, this, that, and the other. And then they realize that, I'm not as good as baseball as I thought. or B, football is always been my main love, and I want to go back to it because I miss it. You look at Russell Wilson, you look at Kyler Murray. So they now come back to football where they still have 4 years of eligibility remaining, and they're now 23 years old.
Yeah.
What about those situations?
That dog don't hunt for me. I think the second that you decide to go pro in whatever it is,
you should give up. You should.
You relinquish your ability to come back and play amateur, right? It's not even amateur anymore now, but football at a university. No, I think that's a decision that you need to make. You don't, you don't get to do that.
So you're a little cutthroat.
Why should you be allowed to do that?
Oh, because think about it.
That's kind of, we're gonna talk about like deal breakers in dating in a little bit, and I love talking about like guy and girl stuff with you. It's so fun, but it's like you have this girlfriend that you left at home. You're like, oh, I'm gonna go date this girl. Oh, I didn't like her. I'm gonna come back and date. No, you're done. You're done. You made your decision.
Hey, now listen.
You made your bed. Don't lay in it.
Now, the next topic, okay, now the next topic that we go to after this one, that's definitely going to be interesting to hear that one. And I get it, but this is America. Allegedly, you're supposed to be able to be all you can be in America. So why can't I go back to football if I tried baseball and it A, didn't work out, or B, it just simply isn't where my heart truly was? Why can't I? Because, think about it. We all age at different rates. We all mature at different rates, things like that. And there is no age limit right now currently in collegiate sports, especially not in college football. So if I did not give up my actual collegiate eligibility because I didn't actually play any collegiate sport, then why can't I go and use those 4 years after the sport that I attempted out of high school did not work out the way that I wanted to?
What you're saying is completely valid and makes all the sense in the world.
But
I'm just saying, I don't think you should be able to do that. It's not an unsound thing that it totally makes sense. I don't know. I forgot what I was going to say. But
I guess I had that good of a point.
I got lost in your eyes.
Okay, JK, you just trying to butter me up now. So, okay, listen. We're going to go now to that topic that we were
I remember.
Okay.
You're taking away a spot from a kid, an 18-year-old kid, because you decide you want to come back at 27 and a half.
Good point.
There's other kids who decided, no, I love football. No, I want to pursue football right now.
Good point.
You wanted to go do baseball. You're taking a spot away from some other kid.
Good point. I can't even try to argue with that. So for me, to be honest with you, obviously I was playing devil's advocate. Yeah, I do believe that there should be some sort of an age limit. I would probably venture to say 25. And I say that because one thing that I did learn from a friend of mine who was a former FBI agent, he taught me that the frontal lobe does not fully develop until you're 25 years old. So for a lot of time, for me coaching, whether it was high school kids or college kids, and you wonder why they made that mistake, and you're wondering, why the heck would they do that? And he used to always remind me that, Stan, he's not thinking along the train of thought as an adult. He's thinking like a kid, because that frontal lobe doesn't fully develop until 25. So for me, I would probably set that as the nice round number as, okay, if you ain't done it by 25, you got to get the hell up out of here. Just because, like you said, a 25-year-old going against an 18-year-old kid, a 19-year-old kid, from a physical standpoint, he's more mature. And now from a mental standpoint, he's more mature. And lastly, but definitely not least, like you just said, you taking up that roster spot, you're now robbing that kid who from age 8 or 9 years old has always been dreaming of playing that sport, namely college football. And now he's not able to do it because some grown man who's now 4 years past the legal drinking limit, we'll get to dry January in a little bit, who's now 4 years past that, is now robbing him of that spot.
Yeah. 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 It's funny. As long as your brain is still developing, you can still play college football.
Okay, yeah, good
Your
one.
brain isn't fully formed yet, you're good. Let's put a helmet on and run you into other guys and then see what happens in a few years.
Okay, all right. Now, moving towards what we just were alluding to.
Okay.
Here we go. Dating deal breakers. I feel like this is going to be somewhat of a powder keg. I feel like it is. So
Ooh,
I'm gonna let you go ahead and
okay.
open up
No, I
with.
want to go back. I want to go back and forth. I'll start.
Okay, all right.
I have some really like trivial ones, but I also
Mm.
have some more like substantive ones. So do you want me to start with like a serious one or like a
You
silly
know
one?
what? Go ahead. You know what? Go ahead. Start off with just a tease or just a taste, and then you can go ahead and get into it.
Okay. And some of these are like if I see you on a dating app, I'm gonna give you an X, and then some of these are like things that I'm gonna find out like after we're on a first date. All right.
Okay.
All right. Number one, it's not number one, but for if you have a severe dietary restriction or you're a vegan or we nope. I don't care how handsome you are. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how mm-mm.
Okay.
I can
All right.
no. Yeah, we're not gonna like crush pizza at 4 a.m. or like we're not gonna go like eat burgers together or we're not gonna go to the steakhouse because you don't eat steak. No, no,
Okay. Now here we go.
I can't do that. I can't
For
do that.
for one, I almost feel like the vegan community is gonna come after you, like whenever they see this or they hear this. That's number one.
That's listen. I have nothing against vegans. I just don't.
Nah, trust me, I
I
don't
don't want
either.
to choose to spend my life with one. Like more power to y'all. Also, vegans confuse me. It's like y'all don't want to eat meat, but like half the things you guys eat are like replacements of. It's like vegan non-burger. Eat,
Yeah. Trust me, I know exactly where you're going with that. And like
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. And I'll just say this and then I'll let you go ahead and go to your next deal breaker. But like it's odd to me when I know of somebody or I see somebody who's a vegan. And there's a difference between vegan and vegetarian. And sometimes I even get them mixed up. But
Yeah.
a lot of the time is they don't want to eat anything with a face, or anything with the face or anything that
Yeah.
poops or I forget how they classify it. But
Yeah.
then you'll see them wearing leather.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
what? So
Mm-hmm.
you can't swallow something with a face, but you can definitely wear it around your shoulders.
Right. 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 Yeah.
So, but hey, listen, I'm probably making too much sense when I say that. So let me go ahead and digress. I'll let you go and get to your next deal breaker.
Yeah. People don't want to have that conversation.
Nope, not
No,
at all.
but that's just I think that something that's so fun for me to do is to go out to dinner and enjoy in the same types of foods. And I mean, even making a breakfast sandwich in the morning that has eggs in it. If you're a vegan, you're not eating eggs.
Yeah.
What the heck are we supposed to eat?
I have no idea.
Isn't being married just asking each other what you want to eat for each meal till one of us dies first?
I guess so.
So, I mean, it just seems like you're starting off on the wrong foot with that one, okay? Um,
Agreed.
okay. Next one leads into the third one, and you're gonna be like, oh my God, this girl's crazy. But, and I might have mentioned this last time we chatted, but I can't remember. Stan, I don't like accents. I don't like accents. If you and that's not just non-American. If you have a super Southern accent, if you have like a Boston accent, if you have like if it is like a New Jersey like gym tan laundry, I don't know, but like I no, and it's fine if it's like some like cute emphasis on some words or like it comes out when you drink.
Yeah.
But it's so overwhelming. I'm just like, ugh, I can't do it. And so that's okay. So that's domestic. International, when I hear international accents, you know what that says to me? That says to me that you don't understand American football at the level I need you to understand it. and you're not, and which means I have to teach you.
But that could be a good thing.
No, no. I'm happy to teach you like the nuances of like Alabama and like our traditions and like the callbacks and Dixieland Delight and all that stuff. But no, I'm not trying to teach my man, my husband, the rules of the game. What? That you get 4 chances to go 10 yards? No, no. And you're over here watching the soccer game where the clock counts forwards, and I'm having to do mental math to try to figure out how much longer is left in the game. No, no,
Okay.
no. I can't do it. I can't do it. Also, I just feel like I don't. So I related to sports, but I also feel like I just don't like connect with someone the same way. And that doesn't mean that like I
Understandable.
don't respect them and that I don't have friends from all over the world. But again, we're talking about deal breakers, and I'm looking at it as someone that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with.
Okay.
You are
A little bit there to unpack. And okay, the whole accent thing.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. So, and I say this because, and like I said, obviously, I don't know everybody in the world. I don't. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that out there.
Oh, you
I'll put that
don't?
out
You're
there right
kidding.
now.
Are you sure? I thought you did.
So, in my experiences, just from, talking to women, having friends, this, that, and the other, just even like on TV, like you always see or hear of women swooning over
Yes.
like a guy with like an
Yes.
Italian accent,
Yes.
French accent, or, like Enrique Iglesias, something like that. Or what's my man, Cristiano Ronaldo? Like, I don't know. I'm just throwing out names.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting for you to say that, or for me to hear you say that.
I'm
how
1%. I know.
like, yeah, like you don't like no act, like you don't even like American accents, depending on which part of the country you're from. And JK, you're from the South.
I know, but I'm like neutral. But that's what I'm saying. There's like a little bit. That's okay. But I don't know. I can't.
And go ahead.
I can't do it. Accents are not my thing. And you know what? You're welcome, American guys. I'm not going to be the girl that's going to go after the Italian guy. I think also the communication part is so important for me, and maybe that's it too, right?
I get it. I get it.
If English isn't your first language, I feel like I can't like communicate and connect with you the way that I need to. I don't know.
I get it. I get it.
But that's just me. But I have the most insane myriad of friends from, like I said, I live in New York City, all over the world, all walks of life, all countries, all everything. But again, I'm just putting this into the lane of, picking a person.
Okay.
Okay. It's your turn.
Oh, okay. Let me see here. And actually, your third one actually really probably is a version, or should I say, I could segue that in actually what my biggest one is. So I would probably go, oh, wow. My first one is the inability to understand your path. And I say that because we all have a path that we've taken throughout life, which leads us to certain points or leads us to certain mindsets, whether you're at age 25, 30, 35, 40, I don't care. Everybody has one. And for me, I'd like to know, what's your path been like? What led you to right here, right now, you meeting me? Like, what has shaped you in your life to having the mindset that you have right now? I don't really give a damn what your mindset is, but I would like to know what led you to that. And for me, the inability of being able to understand that or recognize that, that to me is a huge turnoff. And I'm a deep thinker. I'm very pragmatic. I like to analyze. That's just me. I've always been like that. So I want to know that you can go ahead and dive deep into the Indian Ocean along with me, as far as what makes you think like that, what makes you act like that, what makes you react to things like that. And I think also, you even learn things like that, even going to therapy or just simply having a journal, being a deep thinker. So I'd probably say that right there is number one for me. Number two, and I'll go ahead and preface with, listen, anybody that knows me or has been around me knows that I'm probably a little OCD.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that I'm that bad, but I
Mm-hmm.
probably picked it up from my parents where I'm a
Mm-hmm.
neat person. I
Mm-hmm.
like everything to be in its place. Like I've always been like that ever since
Super
probably
valid.
ever since I left school, I'm sorry, ever since I left high school and I left my parents' house, I probably have always been like that. So for me, somebody who can come back from a long trip and
You
just
unpack
automatic,
immediately.
yeah,
I
or
find
at
you.
least halfway. But
Yeah.
just like set your bag down and now it's just sitting there. Like it's just that to
Collecting
me,
dust.
yeah, that just to me, I'm just kind of like, I don't know about all that. Or I'll go ahead and say this.
Say it.
Um, this is especially, back in my, I guess you would call it my heyday. Let's just go ahead and call it that. And I'm very, like I said, I'm OCD. So if I leave to go out somewhere after the sun goes down, it's nighttime. And all of a sudden I find myself not alone. The first
Uh-huh.
thing I'm doing when I get back home, I'm hopping in the shower because I've been
Okay.
out.
Okay.
And the lack of desire, high desire to
Okay.
want to take a shower as well, that's kind of a turn off for me.
Okay. So are you saying like, okay, so you go out like you meet a girl. So you're talking about before when you come home, like you don't mean like we have to like run in the door and go shower to sit on the couch and watch a movie. You mean like shower before, the night progresses and the door closes, right? That's what you mean.
More or less, more or less.
Okay. Okay. So you're like a super hygiene freak.
Well, it's just that, for one, like I said, I'm big on hygiene. That's number one.
Okay.
Obviously,
Sure.
like I've already said, I'm OCD.
Mhm.
And after I've been out, you may be at a bar, club,
Yeah.
concert, I don't know, whatever.
Okay.
And, you may, like me, sometimes I sweat real easy. I can sweat in air conditioning, but
Sure.
just being outside, you smelling like outside and just being out in the elements. It's just that I'm not saying that you got to immediately rush to go take a shot. I'm not saying
Okay.
that,
Okay.
but being okay with like not showering until the morning or like just being okay with just, oh yeah, I'll just kind of shower whenever. Like it's just like where is the structure? Like
Okay.
where's
Wait.
the
So do you say something like to the girls? Are you like, I'm gonna go shower? Like you, do you want to shower too? Like, do they like say no? And you're like, are you sure? Like, how does that conversation go?
okay, all right. So let me
The
think.
popcorn.
So okay. So to your question.
Uh-huh.
So in that situation, as a man, you're about to take a shower. And you just simply say, "Hey, you
Oh,
want
do
to
you
tie?"
invite her in the shower with you? Is that how you do it?
No, I don't do
Oh,
it like that.
oh,
But I would say, "Hey, do you want me to
right.
grab you a towel? Do you want to, like some shorts or something to change clothes? Or,
And it's
e-
something clothes. Mm,
eluding to, hey, I'm about to take a shower. Don't you kind of want to take one too?"
yeah,
So so I would just ask it in that form of, "Hey, I'm already about to go hop in the shower. So I'm already, changing clothes, all this, that, and the other.
right.
Hey, do you want a towel? Do you want like some shorts or anything? Something like that. Just in a casual way. And then, based on the answer, that's kind of like a little bit of how you kind of gauge, like, okay, maybe we're not compatible. Maybe we kind of are, something like that.
Okay. Number one, I've never had a guy ask me to do that ever. I'm sure you're not alone in this boat, but I've never had that happen. Okay, but then okay, so let's say this is so good. Let's say you guys both shower. Okay, she passed that test. All right, you go
Mm-hmm.
do what you got to do. Then you shower again.
I know what you're asking.
Yeah, then you shower again. And then what if she's just like tired and just wants to go to sleep, but she showered once? If she
Which
doesn't do the second shower,
that no, like
yeah,
that
yeah.
that's understandable. Like
Oh,
I
it is.
it's
But
late.
you're sweaty again.
Agreed. It's late.
least you're inside.
I get everything you're saying. Trust me. Now, in a perfect world,
Yeah.
perfect utopic world, yeah, you would like the second shower. But understanding that it could potentially be late, obviously you've been drinking, maybe you're just dog tired, pass out. You can understand how that can happen late at night, assuming. So that's where, okay, you kind of give somebody a little bit of a pass, something like that. But yes, in a utopic world, absolutely, you definitely want the second shower. But and we all know this, as long as there's like a little bit of like, a rinse off or, wipe off, something like that. Like as long as that,
Yeah.
like that'll suffice. That'll suffice.
Okay. Okay. I think I'm most impressed that you come home sober enough to actually get in the shower.
Hey,
Like
listen, I'll tell you, JK, man, like
that. Hey, God bless
there
you.
there have been many nights where obviously I've had a few, and I may simply be a little bit, let's say, tipsy, buzz, something like that. But I don't think I've ever been to the
PG-13.
I don't think I've ever been to the point to where like I can't walk in a straight line, where I
Yeah,
simply
that's good.
and not coherent,
Yeah,
where like I'm really outside myself, or should I say beside myself.
I love
Um
that. That's great.
so yeah, so that's one thing. And remember, like I said, I'm OCD. So also
Yeah.
what's a synonym to OCD? I'm a little bit of a control freak. And
Mm,
so I don't like to be in settings or even put myself in a situation where I don't have some requisite
mhm,
level of control. And I know me getting completely inebriated, I'm
mhm.
gonna I'm gonna lose control of all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I showered before this podcast, just so you know, my hair is still wet. Can you see?
Okay, okay,
I
hey,
am.
hey, hey. Okay, okay.
I get the rose. I get to come back
Point
next
made.
week. I
Point
get the second date.
point made. Point made. Message received. And my third one
Yeah.
pretty much goes right along with what your third one was.
Okay.
And my third one is a deal breaker for me is not being able to own whatever it is that you
Mm,
feel, believe, whatever. So, like I'm a firm believer that you are who you are. Period. If you like short people, you like short people. Period. Who cares? Own it. But if you're somebody that you like this, but you don't necessarily want to admit to it, you kind of want to hide it, you want to conceal it, you want to be deceiving, and I'm talking about men or women fall into this category. I
okay.
love when
Something else.
people can own whatever it is that they like or they don't like, and
Yeah.
just own it. Like, who cares what somebody else thinks? Because if that's you, that's your
Right.
true belief, that's your true mindset, own it. But
Right.
to sit up there and try to hide it, things like that, to me, that's a deal breaker, because I also think that it goes back to, once again, my original one was
Mm-hmm.
that you still haven't found yourself completely yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're
Mm-hmm.
still kind of finding yourself. You're not sure of yourself. And then once again, what happened through life? What path have you taken that led you to where you are? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that when you fully are able to go ahead and unpack all of that and ascertain it, then you'll get to a point to where, okay, this is me. I know where I'm at. I know
Mm-hmm.
how I feel. This is my deal breaker. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. This is what I will do. This is what I won't do. This is what I might do, depending on, the mood I'm in. And I think that once you're able to go ahead and accept that about yourself, to me, that's when I think you have the true growth.
Yeah, I agree. Where I thought you were going with that, and I'll finish with this is when you can't own something. For me, when conflict comes up, take owning your
Yeah.
actions, taking personal responsibility for whatever happened, and for me, that would sound like, or for anyone who's like, listen to a relationship podcast, been to therapy, knows how to maturely relate to someone when there's conflict. That would be like saying, like, Stan, you said F you to me last night and you were really mean to me. Okay.
Yeah.
And owning that, right, and taking personal responsibility for that instead of blaming you would say, you know, when you said this to me, it made me feel X.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like, you did this to me. No, or you made me feel this way. That might not have been your intention, but that's the way it resonates with me. So for me to like own that, to be always on that, you know, self-awareness, personal growth and development journey, always working on yourself and always working to like grow the relationship together, figure out how to navigate conflict together, figure out how to repair when something goes wrong, figuring out how to communicate and be vulnerable, even if it's like a complicated or negative feeling, right? But not just like holding it in, but being able to take radical personal responsibility and own your side of something.
Yes.
Because
yes.
I think in any conflict, there is 100% your part, there's 100% my part, there's two experiences, and that's it. So I think the blame game and not being able to say like, you know, well, I need to prove you wrong so that I can be right. It's not about, you know, making sure one person wins and one person loses. It's like we're both on the same team here. What
teamwork makes the dream work.
What's going on? So that is the having at least like a foundational understanding of that and being open to continuing to learn and grow yourself is paramount for me right now. I will run the other way so quickly. I'll make your head spin. And I only and I only like to run late. I try to stay away from cardio. So back into the accents thing. If you're not into sports at all, like you wouldn't believe how many guys I've met, even in this city, Stan, where I'm like, oh, are you a sports fan? Yeah, I love sports. Oh, cool. Who are your teams? Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, my dad liked, but I don't know. I don't really, or, oh, I like this team. Oh, okay. Well, oh yeah, you guys are playing so-and-so on Sunday. Oh, really? Oh, I don't know. What?
Oh my gosh.
Ugh. No. I'm like, I get real busy. I'm like, okay, I just saw my friend over there. I got to go. Or even the wrong team, like my college ex-boyfriend went to Auburn. I
remember. Yeah.
I couldn't do that again. I don't know if I could do an LSU fan right now. I just X'd the guy on a dating app because he was like, he was really cute, but he sent me like a go tire. So I'm like, it's not you, it's your team. I'm sure you're like a wonderful person.
Oh, wow.
It's not
you, it's your team.
Yeah. And that leads me to believe that you have poor decision-making skills. So
wow.
I don't know. Okay, wow. Wait. Also, if you have bad taste in like music, that's not good. What else do I have? Inconsistency.
Okay. I understand the inconsistency. Like that's a turn off to anybody. I definitely understand that. And as a man, you got to be consistent. Like you have to, no matter what. As far as okay. Now listen, I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
JK, you are a bit of a unicorn. And I'm going to say this because typically, everybody, hey, don't come after me. Don't add me. Don't tweet me. Hey, for what I'm about to say. Yeah. Typically, well, you're a huge sports fan. We know that.
Yeah.
Typically, women who are huge sports fans, and hey, this is society. This ain't me, so don't come after me. They tend to come off more like a tomboy, you know? Right. So they tend to come off more in like a, oh yeah, you know, she probably make a good homegirl type of way versus somebody like yourself. And so I think for a lot of men, you probably really blow them away when you're like, yeah, I'm a huge sports fan. What are your favorite sports teams? They're like, whoa, shit. Like, and they start scrambling.
Yeah, but that's not a good question. That should be the easiest question to ask you all night.
True, it should be. But here's the thing. What if they're not a huge sports fan? And I'm going to tell you something.
And that's a deal breaker. That's the point of this whole segment.
True. But I'm going to tell you this as a man. This is what you're taught. I'm talking about like from high school.
Okay.
Whatever the woman says, you match it. You agree with it. If she says she likes to worship the devil, oh yeah, man, I really been getting into that lately. 666.
I can't
Like
that.
what like
I don't want you
whatever
to
she
agree with me.
says,
Hmm.
whatever she says, lean into it. So
Okay.
when you say, "Oh yeah, I'm a sports fan," they're like, "Oh man, so am I." And then
Okay.
you're like, "Oh yeah, what are your favorite teams?" They're like, "Oh
Crickets.
damn, I wasn't prepared for a follow
For
up
a
question."
follow-up question.
So trust me, I get it, but I'm pretty sure you probably really,
Okay.
really blow men away when they see that you're a huge sports fan.
That's really
Just
funny.
because, yeah, just because they probably wouldn't have expected that. Like they know, okay, obviously, she probably watches sports from time to time because
Yeah.
it's what's on TV and that's what
Yeah.
everybody likes to do in their pastime. But they wouldn't expect you to be so in depth. They
Mhm.
wouldn't expect you to know the names of the players, their strengths, their weaknesses, to know, Nick Saban, the transfer portal, Roll Tide, everything in its entirety when it comes to that, or even Alabama basketball, things like that. So I'm pretty sure you probably really blow men away whenever you hit them with that because they're just thinking, okay, you know what? She just said this. I'm gonna agree with it. And then when you come back with this follow up, they're like, oh snap.
Well, okay,
You know, and
fair.
then and then and now you want to go and, and you want to be. I don't want to really use that word because it's probably too strong, but like you really want to judge them based on their team.
No, you know what? No, I want to be with someone who has that kind of passion about a team too.
But what if they're a huge LSU fan? LSU just won the title a couple years ago. A lot of
Yeah.
people were rating them as potentially the best team in college football ever.
Okay. So, yeah, until 2020 Bama, but that's fine. That's another conversation. We'll talk about next week. Um, but no, so that's really only like a handful of teams, right? And again, that's like me not getting pepperoni on my pizza because you don't eat meat, right? I'm gonna have to fight with you every Saturday until the cows come home about, right? Like
Okay, I get it. All right, all right,
so it's
all right.
again, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it now like as a 35-year-old woman versus, like we talked about last time, like 35 versus 25.
Understood.
So, um, yeah, I'd be looking at it like, this can I deal with it for the rest of my life?
Okay,
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I can understand that.
Um, but to completely divert from that and completely contradict myself,
Uh-oh.
another
Uh-oh.
deal breaker is people who have super strong opinions and they're not open to like having a thoughtful, a vulnerable discussion about it and
Oh, I get it. I get
hearing
it.
like another side about this. Yeah, so that applies to everything for me except
Yeah.
for your college football team choice.
Oh, wow. So,
But if like political, like social issues, like all
yes.
of that, right? I like to. I was talking to a friend about this in Miami a couple of days ago. I was in Miami for the week, and he said to me, he goes, most people in the country live in between, to use a football analogy, the 40-yard lines.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to believe that he's, I completely agree with him there. But if you're like, I don't care which side you're on, but like let's talk to each other. To your point of, I want to know how you got to where you got to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How did you form those opinions? What happened to you? What did you learn? What did you hear? What did you observe? What experience happened to make you get to that place? Right. And then let me share about how, if I do feel differently, which I don't need you to agree with me on everything. Right. It's like, except, for what colors you're going to wear on Saturday. It's fine. But let's talk about it. And I want to share about the same thing for me too. So, someone who's really like unwilling, and these little things that we're talking about, Stan, they really like lead to bigger.
True. Very true.
Like,
yes.
Okay, you're not going to budge on how you feel about abortion, but like, it's not even really about abortion.
It's the willingness to be open-minded.
It's about how we're going to deal with things forever, and how you're not going to be able to like compromise and move and flow and work together. Yeah. So no, that's, yeah.
I get it. My last question about your deal breakers would be, because it's so arbitrary and because it's nuanced and because it's just opinion based, and I guess there is a way that you could go ahead and qualify the elite of this category based on the awards. But how do you base, or how do you judge somebody's bad taste in music? Because that's opinion.
Hmm. Yeah, and I'm entitled to that, right? So
It's true. I get it. I get it. I see what you did there.
no,
I see what you did there.
you're telling me that, and that's it's different for everybody, right? But
Mm-hmm.
if you can tell me objectively that you don't like Whitney Houston and Boys to Men, I ain't got nothing in common with you.
I'm not even gonna sit. I'm not even gonna try to push back on that because I definitely agree. And
Then
I
you
noticed,
lose,
like,
you lose. Like
you
that.
love Whitney Houston. Like, I've seen that firsthand just with
Yeah.
everything that you post in your
Who
stories.
doesn't? And if you don't, I don't know. You probably have an accent. Whatever.
And and like, yeah, so like, I do believe there are certain artists that if you just vehemently dislike them, as far as you don't even have one song
Yeah.
that they produced, that they've sung, that they've written, that you actually like, yeah,
Hmm.
like that to me is kind of okay. I'm kind of looking at you a little bit sideways. Little quick side story. I remember I had an ex-girlfriend one time, and she used to always say how anybody who does not like Beyonce, like, I can't even be in the same room as them, because I got to completely question every other decision or thought process that you have, like,
Yeah.
on the planet.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I definitely understand what you mean with Whitney Houston and Boys to Men. They're two of my favorites from all time. So yeah, so there are certain people that if you just like don't even like them a little bit,
Yeah.
like you don't even like one song of theirs, yeah, that definitely it it obviously is an early window into what probably is going to be a multitude of differences that you'll probably have down the line.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if you like hard, screamy rock metal and that's all you listen to and there's no melody and there's no rhythm, then you probably don't know how to dance. And what are we going to do
Mm,
at weddings? What are we going to do at the bar? What are we, so just it's
I never thought about it from that angle.
hot. And then if you can't dance, what's going to happen after the shower, Stan? It's probably not going to be good. In between the showers.
Okay, I get it. Point made. Now, so now here we go. New Year's resolution.
Yes.
Everybody makes them every year,
Yes.
and most people do not even do. Most people don't stick with them past January 31st. So why the hell is that?
Yeah.
AK?
Yeah. So I personally believe that, no, remember like my South Carolina Teen USA? God, I can't believe I just started an answer like that. Wow. Oh my God, please fire me. Um, the New Year's resolution is motivated by emotion rather than discipline. The
Yeah,
New
I can
Year's
see that.
resolution is born from emotion and not backed up by discipline, right? It's like New Year, fresh start, right? It's like the diet starts on Monday. Okay, it's New Year. But are you really gonna stick to it after it's like not the new year anymore? It's like January
Yeah.
15th. Everyone
Uh-huh.
stopped saying Happy New Year to each other. Now we've given it this label of a New Year's resolution that's not the new year anymore. It doesn't
Mm.
really lend itself to something that's going to stick around long term. So I think we're setting ourselves up for failure with like just the actual terminology, number one. But number two, again, like I think people like want to make these huge changes in their lives and they come from a good place. But have we really learned how to insert that sort of
Yeah,
discipline
the
in
discipline.
our lives to really make a huge life change? If that's what you want to do.
Yeah, couldn't agree more on that one. I think that the most annoying time of the year for me, because I love to work out a lot, stay in shape, things like that.
Oh, you
And the
like to
most
work out? I had no idea. I could not tell at all.
the most annoying part or the most annoying time of the year is early January because you go into the gym and there's so
Yeah,
many people in there and you just know in the back of your mind, okay, let me go ahead, pump the brakes. Let me just chill out because I know they won't be here in 3 weeks. They won't be here in 28 days. Once
mhm,
February gets here, all of a sudden, the luster of Happy New
mhm.
Year, new me, all of that, it kind of wears off and then everything gets back to status quo. So, yeah, I completely agree that it's definitely more based off of emotion and not the discipline that has to come with it.
Right, right. Um, Also, why do we pick the longest month of the year to not drink? What is that? What is that? Why
You
do we
know,
January, which has the most weeks? Like it seems like the longest month anyway.
yeah,
It's playoff football, right? Everyone is like cold and lonely. Like it's a great time to drink. Why don't we do it in February? We got one football game in February. That's it. Okay.
like,
It's the shortest month. It's 28 days. It should be dry February, not dry January.
you know, and I don't know if this is good or bad. It's very well maybe bad, but I did not even know dry January was a thing until maybe like 4 or 5 days ago.
What?
And yeah, I really, really didn't. Like I never had heard that before. And I don't know, maybe that makes me
That's because
sound
you're
bad,
from
look bad.
Texas. They don't believe in that down there.
Maybe that's what it is. So
You're in
dry,
Texas. That's why.
listen, dry January. And so like obviously you can go and use context clues and be able to deduce exactly what that means. But like, okay, like and as I studied it further, a lot of people want to have dry January because they want to cleanse their system. They want to try to have the discipline of not drinking. And a
Mhm.
lot of that having to do with being healthier and things like that. And that's where, to me, it goes right back to what you're saying with the whole discipline. Like, you can drink. You can drink responsibly. That's number one. Number two, you can drink and also still be it's also still have a healthy lifestyle. Like just because you drink doesn't mean that you have to eat nasty foods for dinner. You could go ahead, eat some grilled chicken, have some greens along with it, be able to still go ahead, work out sensibly, be able to juice, things like that. I mean, that's usually what I eat for dinner, grilled chicken and greens. But
Mhm.
like yeah, to me, like I wonder what's the real origin of that, and does that come from the simple place of not being able to have the moderate level of being able to consume alcohol and the inability to still be able to lead a healthy lifestyle among other factors? And is that just kind of like that one big gesture that one wants to do that way they could tell themselves, oh yeah, I'm being healthier in the new year, bro.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. I don't think that you really need to like completely like just go cold turkey. But I think where this was born from, what you just asked, is most people have a cajillion social events, work
Yeah.
parties, all the stuff before Christmas, really from like
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving through the end of the year. So you're like
Yeah.
5 weeks drinking more than you usually do, which arguably is may or may not be in moderation, right? If you only drink 1 or 2 days a week and then you have, three commitments after work for the whole month, right? Because you got to take
Mm-hmm.
this client out and you got this one's party, and then you got to go. It's a lot more social, so it's like an overcorrection for
Good point.
the damage that you did in December. But again, to your point, I completely agree with you. I don't think I think it is exactly what I said. I think it's an overcorrection. I think you just reel it back to maybe where you were, wherever. I don't know, but I think it should still be February, shorter month, not as much of
Yeah,
a.
I get it. Trust me. Like, yeah, February breezes by before you can even blink your eye. And it's like January just oftentimes just seems so freaking long.
Mhm.
And so, trust me, I definitely get it. But yeah, so dry January. I mean, I'm not much of a heavy drinker anyway, so I don't know if I'm gonna be participating in dry January, but I'm never I'm never wet. If that's even like the antithesis of a dry
Yeah,
January or whatever you
yeah.
want to call it.
Okay. What was I gonna say? Um, Oh, it's a great way to get out of Valentine's Day too. Sorry, I'm not drinking. Right now, I can't take you out.
Good point. Assuming that, the him having an accent and him not necessarily being a heavy sports fan and, all the other things won't already go ahead and cause him to strike out from the ballot. Oh, man.
They're out there.
Oh man, JK, once again, love doing this. We're gonna go ahead, sign off, and definitely we'll be back next week to go ahead and crank this thing up again.
Yeah, we will.
All right, JK, be good. We'll see you next week.
See you
Everybody,
next week.
tune in next week.